Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And we're going to have such a great discussion today because we're going to be talking a lot about marketing, which is, of course, my passion, and how in the heck do we get everybody all on the same page and moving forward in the right direction. So please join me in welcoming Saul Marquez to our program today. Welcome, Saul. How are you?
Deb, doing great. So glad to be here with you and your audience. Thanks for having me.
Great. Well, let me tell folks just a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into this. So
Okay.
Saul Marquez is a prominent figure in healthcare digital marketing, serving as the founder and CEO of Outcomes Rocket, a global digital marketing agency serving healthcare clients exclusively. With over 20 years of experience in sales and marketing within the healthcare sector, Saul's journey began in sales and leadership roles at major players like Stryker, NuVasive, and Medtronic. Recognizing significant gaps that companies were faced with in strategy, digital marketing, and commercialization during his career, Saul established Outcomes Rocket to address these challenges head-on. The consultancy focuses on helping healthcare brands and businesses scale and thrive in the digital age. So again, Saul, welcome.
Such a pleasure, Deb. Such a pleasure.
Great. Well, I always like to ask my guests, how did you get to where you are now?
Deb, you know what? I'm in San Diego today where we live. I live here with my wife and 9-year-old son, Saul.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Saul as well. And wow, born and raised in Chicago.
Okay.
Parents are from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in college, I always knew that I wanted to be in healthcare. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I always had this calling for healthcare. And that calling started when I was a kid. I was climbing up the jungle gym. And back in the days, Deb, you know how it was. Like the playground didn't have rubber floors.
Oh,
like
no,
it was
we had concrete or asphalt.
Right? And so you learned a lot of your lessons in the playground.
Right.
I was, I looked up to my cousin at the time, and he was a few years older, and he and his friend were climbing to the top of this thing and jumping off. I went to do the same thing and went backwards. And I woke up in the hospital.
Yeah. Yikes.
And I remember being so scared, and my parents weren't in the room, so I started screaming and crying. They came in, but before they came in, there was this nurse with me, and she made me feel at ease, right? And that it was okay. And when I was driving home that day in the rearview mirror, as the hospital got smaller and smaller, I knew that I would someday do some work in healthcare. And fast forward to today, to that college experience, I got into medical devices. I was doing sales and marketing, and yeah, I've had the chance to carry the bag, be in the operating room with surgeons, doing spine procedures, hips and knees, to the patient monitoring business. And I grew my career, and eventually decided that I wanted to do something on my own. I wanted to take all the learnings and lessons from sales and marketing and provide those to the healthcare space. And we believe that entrepreneurs and leaders that want to make healthcare better for people deserve to succeed.
Right.
And so that's what we do. We help them succeed through marketing.
I love it. And obviously some of the equipment is incredibly sophisticated. and not inexpensive, you know, and
That's
you know,
correct.
and it is a challenge to get in front of the right people, convince them that, hey, this is the latest and greatest. And so, of course, one of my questions is, when things are changing so rapidly, how do you deal with that? And how do you advise companies to deal with that? Because a piece of equipment that they purchased for, as we said, not inexpensive, a year ago might all of a sudden be out of date already.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. All those are all things to grapple with, right?
Mhm.
In how you go to market.
Mhm.
And well, I do want to first of all acknowledge you, Deb, because like you're a walking miracle.
I've
You
been
know,
in and out of a lot of hospitals.
you've been through a lot,
Mhm. Mhm.
and so like to be able to have a conversation with you,
Mhm.
like your spirits are so high, and
Thank you.
a lot of that is you.
Mhm.
And then, but you were able to receive care that
Yes.
has
Mhm.
kept you
Right.
with
Mhm.
us.
Mhm. Right. And I'll tell you, you mentioned nurses at the very start, and all my medical team, but nurses especially are our heroes, right?
They definitely are.
Mhm.
They definitely are.
Mhm.
And so anyway, I wanted to, before getting into it, acknowledge
Thank you.
you because you're amazing.
Mhm.
And that has to be said. And then getting into the plan and the strategy
Mhm.
and things aging and all that.
Mhm.
You've gotta the approach that we take to marketing and we help our clients with is based on a very simple framework.
Mhm.
And so that framework always starts with strategy.
Okay.
And our favorite quote that we share with clients and we always share on podcasts
Mhm.
and on stage is tactics are the noise you hear before the war is lost.
Ah. Mhm.
It's a Sun Tzu quote from The Art of War.
Mm.
And if you're and marketing is one of those things that it's so easy to get lost in the
Mhm.
tactics just because
Right.
there's so many
Mhm.
things that
Mhm.
you could do.
Mhm.
So with that in mind, you have to approach your market, your buyers with that strategy.
Mhm.
And so that strategy, and then you have the different types of marketing that you could deploy, and they fall into three buckets:
Mhm.
owned marketing,
Mhm.
earned
Mm.
marketing,
Mhm.
and paid
Mhm.
marketing.
Right.
Those are the three buckets, right?
Mhm.
So get your strategy straight. The
Mhm.
strategy bucket, you have to take a look at personas.
Mhm.
You have to take a look at ICPs, which is kind of like business
Mhm.
size, number of
Mhm.
employees. You have to take a look at messaging structure.
Mhm.
You have to take a look at all those important
Mhm.
things, positioning. Then once you get that in order, you could start planning it. And actually, owned, earned, paid are in order.
Mhm.
So before you do earned media,
Mhm.
which earned
Mhm.
media is public relations.
Right. Mhm.
It's other
Mhm.
OPS, other people's
Mhm.
stages.
Mhm.
You got to have your owned
Mhm.
marketing in place.
Mhm.
Your positioning, how you
Right.
speak about your
Mhm.
company, you got to have all that in place. When you think about owned marketing, it's
Mhm.
your own podcasts, blogs, social
Right.
media,
Mhm.
email programs.
Mhm.
All of these things
Mhm.
have to be in in the right
Mhm.
shape before you go to market and get coverage from media outlets. And so get that in order. You're earned, then earn. Bill Gates always said that if I was down to my last dollar, I would spend it on PR.
Mhm.
If
Right.
you have people talking about you,
Mhm.
it's better than you talking about yourself.
Right.
And then
Because we
pay
pay more attention to that.
pay more attention to that.
Mhm.
And the last thing that I'll say on this framework, and we could dig into it further or take it wherever you want to take it, Beb, is paid.
Mhm.
And paid media is basically paying to accelerate traffic,
Mhm.
whether it's digital or
Mhm.
physical at a conference,
Mhm.
to run a tried and true funnel that converts
Mhm.
to sell more
Mhm.
services or to
Right.
sell more products.
Mhm.
So that's the framework.
Mhm. I love that. And we'll go back to the very start when you're first figuring out what the heck you want to do. I mean, you work with companies that have, in essence, four different areas that I know of, right? So you've got your leadership who says, "Oh, you should go do this. We want to meet these target numbers." Then you've got your marketing folks. Then
Yeah.
you've got your sales folks. And then you've got your R&D. And all four of those have got to come together with a cohesive plan. And that's a real challenge. I mean, I think so many companies are still very much siloed. Marketing will say, "Hey, we want to do this," and R&D says, "We can't even create that." Or R&D says, "Ooh, we've got this great thing," and sales says, "Nah." Right? And then you've got the leadership saying, "We need to meet our target." So how do you get people on the same page?
Yeah, and that's part of the strategy. And when you think about your stakeholders, first and foremost, it's your internal stakeholders.
Hmm. Hmm.
And getting everybody aligned is super important.
Hmm.
You mentioned sales, leadership, R&D.
Hmm.
And so those internal groups, you want to make sure, like, the leadership team sets the direction of the
Hmm.
company, the vision, the
Right.
direction,
Hmm.
and the outcomes.
Hmm.
Outcomes are a combination of financial outcomes as well as, metrics,
Hmm.
other metrics
Hmm.
that define success or
Hmm.
failure.
Hmm.
So with those as sort of the guiding North Star, you then put together the marketing plan to help you achieve it.
Hmm.
And then you communicate that plan internally to get buy-in from
Hmm.
cross-functional stakeholders.
Hmm.
And then you go out to execute,
Hmm.
like,
Right.
so you gotta spend time communicating internally to
Hmm.
make sure the alignment is there. Smaller companies, it's easier because you're small. But
Hmm.
when you have large
Hmm.
companies, this becomes even more important
Right.
to make sure that the
Hmm.
machine is
Hmm.
aligned and that
Hmm.
everybody's communicating from the
Hmm.
same hymn
Hmm.
sheet.
Right. And of course, the companies that you're dealing with, not only are they large, they're in multiple locations and might even be in multiple countries.
Mhm.
So again, how do you get people on the same page when they're like, "I don't even know what time it is," and wherever.
Yeah. So the alignment is a process
Mhm.
that happens through communication, but
Okay.
also you've got to document the plan.
Hmm.
And so the documentation happens, strategy, you come up with it, but you have to document it and then communicate it. So you put it in usually in a slide deck,
Hmm.
right? That slide deck will walk people through the
Hmm.
process. For marketing in particular, the objective is how do we take people, markets,
Hmm.
from awareness to consideration to
Hmm.
decision,
Right. Hmm.
right? That's the funnel for
Hmm.
marketing.
Hmm.
And then being very intentional about how that connects to the overall multi-stakeholder
Hmm.
goals. So then awareness, consideration, decision, that decision point is essentially like sales, right? How are we
Hmm.
driving pipeline?
Hmm.
So for salespeople, you're essentially saying, "Hey, I'm tracking with
Hmm.
you. I'm understanding that you're driving pipeline,
Hmm.
you're growing revenue.
Hmm.
This is how it connects to your
Hmm.
plan." And as your salespeople are out there executing on hitting sales
Hmm.
targets and they have their plan,
Hmm.
there's inputs that they learn,
Hmm.
like that sales point input opportunity on kind of what the customers need is such an important thing for
Hmm.
R&D.
Right. Right. Because
So
they're talking to them and they're saying, "Hey, we need something that will do X."
yes, and that those are inputs for
Hmm.
R&D. So
Hmm.
I'm saying that to say that all of these plans should connect
Hmm.
and inform each other,
Hmm.
and you don't set it and forget it. Like a
Hmm.
strategy, you set it and then you measure, right?
Hmm.
You
Right.
depending on
Hmm.
how important a metric is,
Hmm.
you measure it weekly, maybe monthly,
Hmm.
but definitely quarterly. You're
Hmm.
reporting on things to make sure that you're course correcting
Hmm.
to get to the end point.
Hmm.
And so if you do that and you're conscious of the numbers and you're conscious of our activities are leading to the to the agreed upon outcomes, then you get there. If not, then you course correct and you say this is working, this is not. One of the things that a framework that I learned from a mentor of mine is the 4 A's.
Hmm.
If it's not working, it's acknowledge, accept, act, attack.
Hmm. Right.
Right? If it's working, you double down, you
Right.
attack, you keep attacking.
Mhm.
But that's how you do it. You plan it,
Mhm.
you document it,
Mhm.
you communicate it, but make sure that
Mhm.
all of these plans are integrated.
Mhm. Right. Right. And I mean, one of the key things, and we all see, this happen is document is the biggie, right? It's not in somebody's brain.
Right.
you know, and whether it's the salespeople who don't want to share their customer list, no, I'm sorry, they work for the company. They need to share their customer list and their notes, right? Um, and and R&D is like, ooh, we don't want to tell anybody what's,
Mhm.
or we don't want to say, oh, this isn't working. And when it's written down, and I don't care, whatever format somebody is going to use, then you can go back and go, wait a minute, we missed this, or what about that, or those things. And I've worked in corporate America. It's been a while, but we were still on the it's in my brain type of thing. And even now, I mean, I'm involved in several volunteer groups where there are things that I've done for 10 years that nobody else knows how to do because I have never written it down. And so how could somebody else do it or implement it if it's all in my brain? And it's not, and that to me comes back to the leadership, right? The leaders need people to know nobody's going to poach, nobody's going to steal, nobody's going to do whatever. It's for the good of the company that we know all of these
Yeah.
things.
Deb, and the one thing that comes to mind with your comment here,
Mhm.
nobody's gonna poach, nobody's in there. Like it's the importance of trust.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
In an organization, trust is what the most critical
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
asset
Right.
that you can have.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a great book by Sean Covey called The Speed of Trust.
Mm-hmm.
And the more trust you have, the faster you can move as an organization. And it's one of those things that if it's not in place, you're not going to be able to move forward. So that trust is
Mm-hmm.
critical.
Right. And to me, it's also the most fragile. It is something that a casual remark, could destroy. Say, you're the salesperson and you're talking to R&D and you say, well, that's kind of dumb. Right? Then
Yeah.
they're not going to trust you again. Or worse, you take credit, and things like
Yeah.
that. And I think, again, that is where leadership has got to really take, and we're, it's not just the president, the CEO, the whoever, it's the department leaders, it's all of those. Everybody has to be on the same page. And as you said, trust each other.
Yeah. And when Mr. Covey so astutely outlined that trust is divided into two categories. It's
Mm-hmm.
character and it's
Mm-hmm.
competence.
Mm-hmm.
And with character, it's about intent as well. So, like, whatever you say,
Mm-hmm.
words are very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What people can feel
Mm-hmm.
your intent based off of what you say and how you
Mm-hmm.
behave. That's under character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Under competence is can you deliver what the ask
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
effectively,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that
Mm-hmm.
credibility? Do you get the
Mm-hmm.
results? And the combination of both of those is key to establish trust. If you lose trust,
Mm-hmm.
it actually is possible to regain it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you regain it through showing character and
Mm-hmm.
competence
Mm-hmm.
and repeat
Mm-hmm.
results.
Right. And saying, I'm sorry, right?
Acknowledging it,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yes,
that was one of those
absolutely.
A's, that is
Yeah.
always in there. And I mean, if somebody tells me, I'm sorry, I screwed up, I'm like, okay, just don't do it again.
Yeah.
But if they try and hide it, then the thing that happens is I keep looking for them to do it again, right?
A friend of mine, Ed, always I like he put it great, and I always use this. He says the cover up is always worse than the crime.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm like, that's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so true, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like just fess up,
Right.
own it.
Yeah, and say, this is what happened. Here's what I've done to fix it. I mean, that's always kind of one of the things too is, don't just and heaven forbid, don't throw people under the bus. You know, that's one of those things that people will always remember. Even if it was somebody else's fault, you don't need to, if they're reputable, they'll say, I played a role in this too.
Totally.
But yeah, and it's funny. I've shared this a couple times on the program. Many years ago, I worked for a company. We designed computer software for the government, for NASA and for Navy. Great fun. I was the only non-programmer plus our salesperson.
Nice.
And she, for whatever reason, didn't like me. I don't know why. I mean, I think I'm a pretty likable person, but she didn't like me. And so I was office manager. So I was,
Okay.
I did all that. And we make mistakes. That happens. And she would, wear a path down the hall as quick as she possibly could to tattle on me
Hmm.
when something had gone wrong. And it and I'd always been there first. I had always been down there telling the boss, this is what happened. Here's what I have done to fix it. I need your help or whatever. I mean, and like the third and fourth and fifth time, not that I screwed up that much, but it damaged her reputation that she was the person who was tattling on me. And instead she should have been saying, "Hey, can I help you?"
Yeah,
But that comes back to that trust, right? There
it
was
does.
nothing she could have done from that point forward that I was ever going to trust her because I was expecting that she was looking for me to make mistakes. And
Yeah.
if she was looking for me to make mistakes, then she was looking for everybody else to make mistakes. And she didn't last. I mean, that was kind of the thing. And I don't think she had any idea why. And it was just, you know, she was, and
Yeah.
I hate to use the word team player, but we are a team,
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big sports person, love watching sports. Yeah, we have people who are outstanding. I mean, I'm a Denver Bronco fan. John Elway, Peyton Manning, right? Um, but as good as they were, they still needed everybody around them. It was not a
Oh,
one
big
person
time.
sport.
Yeah,
Um,
no. It's a team sport.
yeah, and I think that's the thing is, and we always have to continue building on that. Not only is it not tattle, it's tell somebody that they're good. I have a calendar up here on my desk. It's a daily calendar. And today, for August 14th, it says today's challenge. I'm having to read it. Tell
Yeah.
a tell a coworker how much you appreciate them,
Love it.
right?
That's
How
great.
simple is that? But how hard? Because of course the thing we do is, well, they know. They know that we appreciate them. They might, but it's still nice to hear it.
Big time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. I agree with you. Put it out there,
Mm-hmm.
show your appreciation,
Mm-hmm.
treat others how you want to be
Mm-hmm.
treated.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you learn in kindergarten.
Right. Right. And all of this speaks to the culture of the company, right?
It does.
And if you don't have that, you might be successful, but you could be even more successful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Culture is incredibly
Mhm.
important, and the the mechanisms and the cadences that you establish to propagate a certain culture, you have to do it with intentionality.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because if you don't, you're still going to create a culture,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to be in the wake
Mm-hmm.
of your
Right. Mm-hmm.
actions and things that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do it intentionally, it may not be the culture you want to build.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. And it's also one of those things. Check in. Find out what's going on. Don't just assume. Many years ago, I worked for a very large insurance company, and we had about 10 floors in a building. It was a big company, and it was cubicle land, right? So it's the 5 foot walls. And my CEO, who I really thought the world of, decided he was going to start doing walks around, right? He was going to check. Well, nobody knew what he was doing. And so it scared the living daylights of everybody. Well, what's he doing here? But it didn't take long for everybody to realize he really did care. And
Yeah.
he was very good. I mean, he would, he'd stop in and he'd ask somebody about a new baby. He'd ask, all these various things that many times leaders don't act like they don't think are important, but they're really very important. And so it didn't take long for people to go, wow, he really does care about us.
Yeah. And, his actions spoke loud and clear.
Right. Right. And the funny thing was, he discovered if he really wanted to know what was going on, it was the mail room. This was back when, you actually still had a lot of physical mail and things like that. And so the guys that were in the mail room would stop and chat, right? And they would chat often with the admin assistants. And, they were just a wealth of information. But, that comes back to getting everybody on the same page, right? If you've got people worried that, that they might lose their job, that company X is going to take over and do something, this company has something better, or we're going to get left behind. And of course, now the big thing is AI. But, if you can anticipate some of those things, or at least be dealing with them, it's going to help.
Absolutely. Yep. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Right. When I just mentioned that is, I think it's 2 words. Yeah, it'd be 2 words. AI, artificial intelligence. You're in like we said, you focus exclusively on healthcare, the industry, the equipment, things like that. How is AI changing what you're doing?
Yeah. I mean, AI is changing what everyone is doing. And just like with marketing, with AI, if you don't have a strategy, you go to the tactics and you end up doing a bunch of things that potentially don't serve you, or you become essentially fragmented with a bunch of point solutions.
Right.
So, AI is affecting the workplace. It's affecting the work that you do daily. It's affecting how businesses that you work with do work with your business. And it's affecting the way that health systems deliver care. So from an AI perspective, the important thing there too is to understand how you're going to use it, what you're going to use it for, what you're not going to use it for. And in the healthcare space in particular, it's really important for organizations to be mindful about how they use their data
Right.
and who they give access to. And today it's more than just people, because now you have agents. You have AI agents doing work. I was doing a podcast yesterday with a gentleman. His name is Eddie Barrero. He's the Chief Technology Information Officer at Sierra. They're a cybersecurity company. And he was telling me that 4% is the number of so a person in an organization uses only 4% of their access rights for everything that they actually have access for. But an AI agent will use 100%.
Right. That's part of what it's doing.
And so if you're not intentional about your AI strategy and permission setting, like the example that Eddie used was you can literally ask your agent, hey, what is the company CEO up to? And if there's any documents that were left with global access, you now have access to those through the agent. So being very mindful about access controls has become more important than ever. The other side of it is companies developing products. Nowadays, you have vibe coding, which is AI coding. You don't know about the vulnerabilities that exist.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Proprietary data is, the worst thing, it would be to go to Chat GPT or, whatever your preferred thing is. Hey, we're thinking of developing a product that will do X. Because that's great. It's going to give you a lot of feedback, all that good stuff. But the other company that's a competitor, multiple, you just put it out there for them.
Yeah.
And
so you got to be extra careful.
Oh yeah. And there are, AIs where, they're internal. and restricted and everything. But yeah, I would imagine that, a lot of what you are doing is advising people to say, hey, y'all need to look at your HR manual, right? It's not just, hey, don't put it on Facebook. you know,
Yeah, it's
it's,
beyond that now.
here's what you can do with AI. And, and of course, AI is great, but it is, again, how you're using it. But yeah, I mean, people have got to watch that. Even me. I mean, when I don't know that anybody's really going to want to steal what I do, but you never know. I mean, and so, just don't. It comes back to, if you don't want the world to know it, don't put it out there. I've been telling people that about Facebook for years.
Yeah. Well, and in today's day,
Mhm.
so if you want to kind of think about the individual,
Mhm.
at the individual level, what you could do with Claude is pretty impressive,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
or ChatGPT.
Right. Mhm.
Um, Within those systems, you can create skills.
Mhm.
You can create you could leverage connectors.
Mhm.
MCPs are connectors, and
Mhm.
these connectors connect with
Mhm.
all the different software out there. The agents use it for you.
Mhm.
Um, and so you can connect to things like bank accounts
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
accounting software.
Right.
And so you got to make sure that if you're going to be, and by the way, so what is a skill
Mhm.
within an LLM platform?
Mhm.
Just I'll level set here.
Mhm.
A skill is essentially a workflow, a
Okay.
step-by-step workflow
Okay.
that the agent can do
Okay.
to accomplish a task
Okay.
without you.
Mhm. Mhm.
There are skills that you structure and develop yourself, but there are skills that you can actually buy off a marketplace.
Ah. Mhm.
It's very convenient,
Mhm.
right? But the
Right.
thing that I want to warn people on on getting skills that are prepackaged
Mhm.
is make sure you're buying them from a credible
Right.
source.
Otherwise, who knows what little thing is in there, stealing not only your data, but all sorts of other
E-
things. Mhm.
Exactly. I was at a conference last year called AI Med.
Mm.
It's artificial
Mhm.
intelligence in
Mhm.
medicine. And there was a gentleman who we did an episode with that was talking about prompt injections.
Mm.
And essentially what a prompt injection is you got your chat prompts. You're asking your LLM, whether it be chat or Claude or Gemini, whatever, pick your flavor.
Mhm.
Um, there's these things that could where somebody can send you an email.
Mhm.
You open and you click on it. It will literally inject a
Mhm.
bunch of information
Mhm.
that is untrue,
Mhm.
that has malicious
Mhm.
messages
Mhm.
that literally can take over your computer,
Right. Mhm.
access your
Mhm.
information, steal it,
Mhm.
empty your bank account.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like all this stuff is literally like we have the power to do so much, but
Mhm.
at the same time, it opens up a door for
Mhm.
bad actors
Right.
to
Mhm.
take advantage.
Mhm.
So you got to be more careful than ever now on the
Right. Yeah. Don't
security
click
of your
those
devices.
links, folks.
Don't click those links.
Mhm.
Yes.
Right.
Triple check.
Mhm.
Make
Mhm.
sure.
Right. Oh yeah. If I get a link anywhere, Facebook, email, and I'm not expecting it, the first thing I do is I look, okay, especially email, right? What is the email address? Does it look like a legitimate email address?
Exactly.
If it doesn't,
Hmm.
then nope, it gets deleted. And if I get more than one, then it gets blocked. Um,
Hmm.
but if I don't know what it is, I don't care what the link looks like. I mean, it might look like a legitimate link. I will go back to the person and I will say, I don't click on this if I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I had my Facebook account get hacked because I did that. This was several years ago. Of course, I was on vacation, right? Um,
Yeah.
and I clicked on a link that looked very valid, very legit. It
Yeah.
was a friend saying, "Hey," now it wasn't, "Oh my God, I'm in jail." No, it was a simple request that looked really legitimate. And I clicked on it, and bam, there went my Facebook account. Now I was able to get it back, but it took a lot. But yeah, if folks, if you don't know what that link is, don't click it. And
Don't
even
click
if you
it.
think you know what it is, double check. Hey, did you just send me something?
Yeah.
And whether that's, and I don't care where it is, social, any of those various things, we have to be so cautious. And, my soapbox of the day is just think if those bad actors started looking for, say, the cure for cancer or, all this, just think what we could accomplish. But,
I know.
yeah. And,
There's
and
always there's always people that are going to be on the dark side.
right. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I know some people who are black hat hackers, but they're white hat. So they can do the bad, but they're doing it for good, right? And
For
so
the
they're
good.
doing
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. They're going into those programs, and because they are able to hack it, they go in and they say, no, no, danger, danger, but yeah, and this is not just on TV, folks. This is real life.
Real life.
And you don't want to give away your company's information. You don't want to give away your personal information. So just don't do it. I had somebody say, I'm not on any social. Okay, that's great. But, there's other ways where you can have issues.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay, off my soapbox, off my soapbox. So,
Mhm.
one of the things, and I like talking about this aspect of marketing is niche marketing. I mean, you really have niched. And I love that what you do can be used by anybody, right? But no, you're working with a specific thing. And so you mentioned the word persona. And of course, for medical equipment, there's two personas, right? You've got the medical provider, the doc, the PA, the whoever who uses whatever it is. But then there's the practice manager, the office manager, the hospital administrator who signs that check or authorizes payment. So, what do you do? And I mean, this is a sales and a marketing question. When you've got two, they may be very opposed to think. How do you deal with, working your way through that kind of minefield?
Yeah, there are many personas
Mm-hmm.
in healthcare deals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's different frameworks that you could use. The Miller-Heiman model is a good one where you have your user buyer,
Mm-hmm.
your economic buyer, your technical buyer, your coach, and so there's these purchases are pretty complex, multi-stakeholder decisions,
Mm-hmm.
and sales cycles are 6, 12, 24 months for some of these.
Mm-hmm.
So you really have to be thoughtful about all the people and making sure that you're addressing all of the right people at the right time, and you're not leaving anybody behind in the
Right.
process, because
Mm-hmm.
you could think you're getting ahead, and let's just say your technical buyer, the CIO,
Mm-hmm.
is up to date. They're good.
Mm-hmm.
Your user buyer is the doctor
Mm-hmm.
or the nurse. They're up to speed,
Mm-hmm.
and you're getting this deal all the way almost to the finish line, but you've done nothing to talk to the VP of finance or
Right.
the
Like we
CFO.
said, the person who says, okie dokie smoky, you can buy this.
And so those types of
Mm-hmm.
situations happen, and you just have to be up to speed and make sure that your buyer map is properly outlined,
Right.
and that you're communicating and bringing everybody into the fold
Mm-hmm.
ahead of time,
Mm-hmm.
and not assuming
Mm-hmm.
that
Right.
your November close date is a for
Mm-hmm.
sure deal.
Right. And sometimes it's just asking the question, hey, Saul, I know you really love this, but who actually authorizes it? Right.
That's
And
it.
I've dealt with, much smaller and different type of things where, say you're talking to the husband and it's the wife who actually says, no, we're going to do this, or, and yeah. So
Yeah,
just asking those simple questions. And if they say, I don't know, then there is a hitch, right? Because they probably didn't even need to be in the loop. But yeah, just saying, who do we need to talk to? Who do we need to get in this, to make sure that this can go forward? Because they want it too, especially
they
medical
do.
equipment, right? This is something that they want to be able to utilize for their patients' benefit. And so
Exactly.
they don't want it to get all the way through to the sign on the dotted line and it doesn't happen. So they're going to help you to say, This is who needs to be in on this process.
Yep. And so that's the buyer map exercise, a simple Excel sheet where you outline all of the people, what you've communicated to them, who they are. Because once you put it on a document, back to documentation, you can identify potential obstacles and get ahead of them versus thinking that you've got this thing in the bag, but you really don't.
Right. And the fun thing is there are often people on there that really don't need to be, but they thought they did. I mentioned working for that large insurance company. I was in corporate communications. And so I was writing the things. And I mean, there's a lot of levels, and especially a lot of legal levels and things like that. But when we would work on, say, a new marketing brochure, there were 29 people that had to sign off on what we did. Now, some of them really did make sense, right? The compliance people, the legal people, all of those. But some of them were just I think I'm important and I should be on that list. But we had to include them, So, don't ever assume, I don't think Sue in whatever department shouldn't be on it, because you don't really know who Sue might be talking to.
This is true.
And so, yeah. But I did learn, I would say in the email, hey, here's this piece to review. You have X number of days, weeks, whatever it was, to review it. I need to hear from, and I listed legal, the people who absolutely had to review it. And then I said, and if you're not on that list and I haven't heard from you by X date, then we assume that you approve it. And that actually worked. They just wanted to be kept in the loop, but they didn't really want to have to put in their 2 cents. But yeah, when you
I like that approach.
Yeah. If you're buying a piece of equipment, or multiple pieces of it that are, many, many numbers, you've got to get that buy-in from everybody to make sure that it goes the way it should. And again, you want it to go as quickly as the process can. Because it's like we said, technology changes. And you would hate to get all the way through and then have them say, but wait a minute, there's an update over here that this company has done that's better. Eek, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things that I love about what you do is, and I saw this on your website, you have the 3D framework of how we make sure that we're kind of going all on the same page. Talk to us a little bit more about what those D's are.
Yeah, it's our simple process for ensuring that the work that we do is consistent and delivers results. So discover, define, deliver is the approach, and it's actually based on that initial framework that I had talked to you about. Discover is about understanding your market and getting the strategy right. It's all about strategy. Define is all about, once you understand the lay of the land, the competitors, your positioning, you got to define the program that is going to get you the results that you're looking for. And under define, you also want clear KPIs. What are you after?
Right.
And then deliver is where you actually make it happen, where you execute. And so the 3D process is essentially that in a nutshell. And then making sure that you're tying that back to revenue, because revenue is oxygen to a business.
Right. It might be a wonderful piece of equipment, but if it ain't making money,
yeah, no margin, no mission. So making sure that it's tied to that. And yeah, that's ultimately how the model works, and it ensures reproducible results.
Right. And I want to delve a little bit deeper, especially into Discover, because that's the thing where we go, oh, this seems like something fun that people would buy, sell, do. That doesn't mean they will buy, sell, or do it, right?
Right.
And so you do they still even do focus groups? I don't know if they do focus groups. I used to do focus groups,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, focus groups are a thing.
Yeah, but do the research. It might be that, you think this is the greatest invention in the world, but if nobody wants it, then, and maybe it's just ahead of its time, and things like that. But yeah, do that research. I still wonder, I remember this, you might not be old enough, when one of the biggest things that people bought were pet rocks.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and I mean, it made millions. It was the stupidest thing in the world. They had rocks that had like little happy faces and things like that. And people bought them. People bought a
Yeah.
whole bunch of them. But who thought, gee, I bet if I put a happy face on a rock, somebody will buy it? you know? And I mean, and I would guess the research would have said no. But yeah, make sure what you're doing is something that people want and need. And it's both of those, right? They might want it, but they don't need it, or they might need it, but they don't want it.
Absolutely. Yep. And that discover phase will help answer questions that you need answered
Mhm.
in order to decide, is this
Mhm.
worth investing in
Mhm.
time and money?
Mhm.
So couldn't agree with you more,
Mhm.
Deb.
Right. Right. And then deliver, right? Again, you can say this is the greatest thing in the world, but if we cannot produce it, or we cannot produce it in a timely manner, or we cannot produce it in a cost effective, all those things, it's not going to matter. But and I think we skip ahead. I think we really do the discover and then we just leap into it in a lot of cases because we think, oh, this really is cool. People must need this. And we forget that all those other things have got to go in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And the define, right? The define
Mm-hmm.
is where you lay it out
Mm-hmm.
and you
Right.
architect
Mm-hmm.
your plan
Mm-hmm.
and you put together
Mm-hmm.
your outline
Mm-hmm.
of what it's going to look
Mm-hmm.
like and how and what are the
Mm-hmm.
steps
Mm-hmm.
and what are the
Mm-hmm.
checkpoints to help you understand if this is working or not, right? And so documenting that plan is also
Mm-hmm.
very important.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the define
Mm-hmm.
phase.
Right. Well, now speaking of research, you've done research on a lot of different things. Talk to us about some of those because I think they're fascinating.
Yeah, we do 2 insight reports per quarter,
Mm-hmm.
and those insight reports are the main goal for those reports are to help drive data
Mm-hmm.
to help our clients make
Mm-hmm.
decisions on their activities
Mm-hmm.
and to help us help them
Mm-hmm.
get results.
Mm-hmm.
The latest report that we did was on podcasting, the power of podcast
Mm-hmm.
marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of really great information. One of the key insights from that report was that most people are measuring engagement and downloads as a key metric.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a business selling services or products,
Mm-hmm.
that's the wrong thing to measure.
Mm-hmm.
You should be measuring pipeline.
Right.
The report goes into why,
Mm-hmm.
and so the one before that was our go-to-market approach in marketing. We've done one on PR. Our next one we're going to do is on conferences. So
Mm-hmm.
so that's an interesting one. Yeah, we spend a lot of time, effort, research, investment
Mm-hmm.
in understanding things, getting data to prove positioning and direction. And so
Right.
thanks for highlighting that. It's
Yeah.
definitely something we're proud of.
Yeah. I did one not long ago on the other area of my life where I work with executives who have a cancer diagnosis. And
Yeah.
again, I was like, "Oh, this sounds like it's a really good thing, but do people care?" And so I did a research study, and it put it on LinkedIn. That seemed to be the best place to do it, and got quite a few people who responded. And the nice thing was, like 60 some percent said, yes, we think this is a good service. And that is where AI can come in, right? It can analyze the data. This is not earth shaking thing. So it's not like I didn't double check when it said, oh, 67%. No, I just, assumed that it's 67% was correct. If it's earth shaking and, earth changing, yeah, you probably want to double check the figures. But yeah, I mean, that was something that was very interesting, and of course, the most interesting parts to me were the open-ended questions. But it doesn't take much time. It seems like it's complicated, but again, you're going to verify that what you want to do is something people want to use. And again, might be the coolest thing in the world, but if nobody's going to pay money for it, then why are you going to do it? And so I love being able to do that. And of course, I love the fact that one of the things that you did was on podcasts because I tell people all the time, you need to be on podcasts. Is how you get your message out there. And of course, the cool thing about podcasts is there is a podcast, at least one probably for every single thing. So yeah, mine's a business podcast. It's a big range of topics. But I'm assuming that there are podcasts specifically for medical care providers, this type of equipment, this type of diagnosis, all those things, and so those are the ones that if that's the field you're in, you want to be a guest on those.
Absolutely. Yep. Find the right ones to get yourself on so you could reach your ideal audience.
Right. And start your own. I mean, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Because you've got information, why not get it out there? Again, folks, watch the proprietary data, all that good stuff. But yeah, and just search. You're going to find what is out there. And remember that I think the latest stat I heard, and you've been to some more recent things and obviously your research, only, most people only do 34 episodes and then they give up. That's actually a higher number than it used to be. So if you've got a podcast that, you're getting out there on a consistent basis, you're going to get listeners.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Deb. Do you have any favorite podcasts?
I listen to several different ones, not as much as I should, because, it just, to me I like to, I want to sit and focus. And I know a lot of people, when they listen to podcasts, I've had people say, oh, hey, we listen to your podcast 3 and 4 times. I'm like, really? You listen to one episode 3 and 4 times? And they said, yeah, because we don't pay attention. I was like, oh, okay. But what about you? What are some of your favorites?
Yeah, one of my favorites is a podcast called Acquired. Acquired does research on companies, like very well-known brands. And I enjoy their episodes. They're a bit longer, 3 to 4 hours. But I listen to them sort of like 10, 20 minutes at a time.
Right.
So that's one of my favorites.
Right. Yeah, I know a lot of people, especially now that, we're back into commuting to the office and things like that. That is something that a lot of people listen to as a podcast when they're driving or exercising. And so that's great. Oh my gosh, this really has been so interesting. But I want to come back to, what about when, you've got the fragmented views and sometimes it's just not, you're just not gonna meld them, or, how can you get everybody back on that same page?
You mean like from a marketing perspective and a sales
Right.
perspective?
And of course, the big thing there, the reason they're fragmented a lot of times is that little thing called ego. Right? So how do you
Yep.
get around all of that?
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to win everybody over. But again, back to what I shared earlier, get the buyer map documented, understand position, understand personal interests, professional interests, outline them all, plan, communicate, and there's going to be people that you win over and there's going to be people that you can't win over.
Right.
And so, focus on the ones that you can. If there's a critical one that's super important, then you've got to make sure that you are understanding their perspective so you could address issues they have, negotiate terms, but ultimately, be flexible enough to work with them. Sometimes you just have to walk away. Sometimes it's not worth it, or it competes with values and principles you might have or the business might have in place. And so making sure that you're not compromising those things is super key, and it's okay to walk away sometimes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is sometimes it is just not going to happen. And so, that's the thing. Well, we've only got about 5 minutes left. I have just one final question before we close this. You make me look like a slacker. You've done over 2,300 podcast episodes of your podcast. Is there a theme that kind of comes out from all of those?
Well, our podcast is based on two main things. What are you doing to improve outcomes, both business and patient outcomes? And what innovations are you working with to make healthcare better for all of us? That's the theme of all episodes. So, we've had many beautiful discussions with leaders in the space, innovating from material sciences to health IT to bullying and incivility in the workplace, the spectrum. So if you're looking for inspiration and ideas on how to improve healthcare, there's definitely plenty to choose from on our platform.
I love it. And it's also what we've been saying. You might not be in healthcare, but what you're talking about still applies. And so I encourage folks to go in and check out your podcast. Well, oh my gosh, we are already at the top of the hour. This has been so much fun, and I would love to chat with you again. But for people who are in the healthcare area, how do they find you, and what are the services that you provide?
Sure. Thanks, Deb. Really appreciate the opportunity to be with you and to speak with your audience. You guys can find us at outcomesrocket.com, or personally, you could reach out to me on LinkedIn. Those are the two main ways that you could get in touch. We do marketing strategy as well as full service execution for companies that are in healthcare, specifically health tech, those software as a service and AI companies, as well as medical devices. So always up for a good discussion around how we can help.
Great. I love it. I love it. Well, until we have you on again, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
The final thought is you don't have to leave marketing effectiveness to chance. There's very clear frameworks, steps, and processes, many of which we've covered on this podcast today, for you to ensure the success of your marketing programs that will drive business results for you. So anchor in on tried and true strategy, owned, earned, paid, discover, define, deliver. That's it in a nutshell. Check out the transcript of this podcast episode. You'll be able to get all the bits and pieces, or visit us at outcomesrocket.com if you want to learn more.
I love it. Well, this really has been so interesting. I'm Deb Creer. I've been having a great time talking with Saul Marquez of, I'm going to get it wrong, of Outcomes Rocket. There we go. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.